Let's now talk about facts. As we mentioned before, any business process or any event has two sides. Measure side, which is the actual measures or actual KPIs, like quantity sold, order value, VAT value, and so on, and event details or business process details, like the product name, category, or employee, or customer information. Facts are the container for solid measures, which we use to get KPIs in our organization. So fact will be responsible to store the measure side, not event details. Event details or business process details, as we discussed before, will be stored in our dimensions. So facts are the container for our measures. One record in a fact table is a one event or a set of events, depends on fact type, and we will discuss fact table types in coming lectures. But in general, one record in a fact table is a one event or a set of events happen together. So to summarize, fact equal events. It's the outcome of events or outcome of a business process. Records in a fact table must have one level of grain, or we can say records in a fact table must share the same grain. So what is grain? Grain is the lowest level of details in a table. To understand grain, let's take an example of a customer going to a retail shop to make a purchase process. So the process in this case is the purchase process itself. What is the grain? The grain is the one item purchase. For example, if customer purchased 5 items, so lowest level of detail for this purchase process is one item purchase. So if I'm going to store all this process in a fact table, I will have 5 records for each purchase process. So in this case, our process or our business process, or you can call it our event, is a purchase event, and our grain is one item purchase, which is the lowest level of details in this process, in this purchase process. Let's say the same customer is going to do a complaint in a retail shop. So business process or event is a complaint. What is the lowest level of details in this process? It's one product complaint. He's going to make a complaint on a certain product or on a certain order. So the grain in this process is one product complaint. So records in a fact table must have one level of grain. Based on grain, we check required dimensions. For example, here the grain is one item purchase. So we check all dimensions, all even details around this grain. So we need to check, for example, customer dimension or customer information. We need to check employee information. We need to check product information and so on. So this is the basic unit for our fact table, and around this basic unit or around this grain, we build all the required dimensions. The same here for the complaint. We could have dimensions like product dimension, employee dimension, customer dimension, and so on. We have one important rule here. In the same fact table, I cannot have two grains. So for example, if I have one fact table, I cannot insert in this fact table purchase records and complaints records. This against our definition here. Records in a fact table must have only one level of grain. So we should have one separate table or one separate fact table for purchase operations and one separate fact table for complaints operations. And why we do that? Because we need to separate KPIs. We cannot have the same table, and this table has KPIs from two different levels of grain. So now we agree in the same fact table, we can have only one level of grain. We cannot have both levels of grain together. We now know what is the grain. Grain is the lowest level of details in a table. For example, our purchase operation or our complaint operation. In our purchase operation, we will have one item purchase, which is the grain level. So one record in the fact table that has purchase operations will have information for one item purchase. So if this customer made 5 items purchase or 10 items, I will have 5 records or 10 records in this fact table. The same for complaint. In complaint, we have the grain is the one product complaint. We have the grain is a one product complaint. So in complaints fact table, one record represents one complaint only on a one product or on a one service. And we agreed we cannot have two levels of brain in the same fact table. So now we know what is fact table and what information we expect to be in a fact table. Let's now discuss what types we have of fact tables.